Well, welcome back to the Evolution with Mac and Jenn podcast. I am Jenn, and I am here with
Mac.
Mac, the handsome and beautiful Mac. So today we are going to
Stir things up.
stir things up.
Yep. So I'm gonna jump into this because this is where some people are gonna get triggered. And so I want to address it very carefully in some ways, but also very aggressively. There's two different ways that I teach from for good reason, and one of them is from the law of attraction side of science, quantum physics, and how you can manifest what you want through energy, emotion, and different things like that. The other side is more spiritual. It has to do with God, Christ, whatever, however you want to see it. And there's a lot of stuff in between. People be like the universe, this, that, whatever. But there's kind of like this gap in a lot of worlds that don't quite mix very well. People are starting to understand that it's kind of the same thing. It actually is the same thing, but with different words. But a lot of the times, the reason I use the scientific side of it is because it's less triggering. And when you're not triggered, your mind is more open to receiving, allowing. Your ability to allow and manifest becomes easier. You lower the resistance because of the bullshit religious programming that you've probably received. And the reality is like in today's day, they are much better at not like religious churches, things like that. They're doing a lot better job of not pressing people down. The question becomes often, if like attracts like, right? Like attracts like, and we focus on sin, what are we promoting? And the religions of the past were literally promoting sin under the pretenses of you need to repent or else, that type of thing. And so it acerbates a problem and just continues to make it. And the focus becomes not about the truth of what Christ teaches or God teaches, depending on the religion that you're viewing things from. And it becomes this mixed up thing because the parents decide that, oh, this is how they're going to teach their kids. And they fail to admit what idiots they are at being able to teach anything. And what was taught, like if you look at the Bible and you look at how it's taught, it says, Christ says, for those of you that will humble yourselves to the little children, you're the ones that will access the kingdom of heaven at the highest level. And it's like, what does that mean? Like, how do you humble yourself to a child? It means when you let go of your ego and will listen to what a child has to say, to observe and watch and see the humbleness and the lack of ego, unless the child's really messed up by the time they're 3, which some of them are because of stuff that's happened, whatever. But there's this other sense, and the parents say, no, this is what you have to do. You have to do what I say. And they become gods in their own right without permission, and they begin to affect. And then as children, we don't know any better. So we start telling stories and we start making things up. And then pretty soon we hate God, right? Because religion represents the hypocritical behaviors of our leaders, our parents, our other things. And then we want to get as far away from any kind of religion as possible. Like I've been there. I'm guessing you've been there, right?
I think this is what I have seen is that people turn away from God and turn away from religion mainly because the people that are telling them that they should do this and should do that, those people are liars themselves. And so for like just an example is like if your parents are pressing God and pressing religion onto you, but you can see that your parents are alcoholics and your dad's a cheater or whatever, you see these negative behaviors. We see negative behaviors in people that are pressing onto us. And because of that, we turn our backs because we want nothing to do with them or what they're doing. And so I think that's why a lot of us have this this really, we hold on to this story that's
Also,
not for us.
it also gives us like our story of why we don't like what we see gives us permission to do it ourselves, to abandon in any type of connection or pressure, or maybe hide inside our own lies, right? So coming out in the world and just being like, hey, if I'm going to follow something or whatever, what is it? And if we go to law of attraction type speak, oh, well, let's just do a bunch of energy clearing and think about what we want and be happy and, do this happy-go-lucky stuff and manifest everything. It's like, good. But really, what's the difference when it comes down to it? What's the difference between what's really taught, like not by man, but by God, which means you have to teach yourself. So if you're hearing words from another person and you're questioning the other person, you're off base. You have to look at it and say, what am I personally going to gain from this? And without blaming someone else for my problems, without being a victim or using the reasoning to say, oh, I hate God because X. And one of the biggest arguments that I'll hear people talk about is, well, if God cared, he wouldn't allow X to happen. Right? It's like, God gave us free will. And if God stepped in to stop these things from happening, that is the free will of other souls, men, women, whatever, then free will would not be in place. And that would be the model of what we would refer to as the devil, basically. So it's like, no, you don't understand it. You're the one with all the power to change everything. What is in your mind, you will create, whether it's evil, whether it's light. And there's a deep question that goes in there that says, what is it that you're actually here to experience? Is it just to be bliss and everything else? Like, no, because you came from bliss. Like your spirit came from something that was so amazing that if you knew what it was now, you'd want to go back. But it chose to come here to experience more. So you come here, you experience, and part of the process of experiencing is the pain and the love. It sees them equally. But being human with a subconscious that's built to survive, there has to be this like challenge back and forth. And most of the time, religion becomes this ugly thing, right? It just becomes this ugly thing that's not, it's a mess, right? So I usually tell everybody, challenge it. Don't listen to it. Every day that you get older is a different day for you to see it differently, and where you search and get different answers. If you want answers, if you sink yourself into the word, they come. Like if you're really curious, you really want to know, somehow they just like come out of there. It's like a magic trick in some sense. But let's just look at some simple basic rules of manifesting inside of science and the law of attraction and compare them to some of the teachings. Okay. And inside, like the stuff that I teach, law of attraction, it says, okay, if you want to manifest something, 3 simple things. One, there's like the resistance that you have, the repetition that you put into it, and the intensity of the emotion that you put behind it. So if I want to manifest a big house, let's say, I'm going to say, okay, how much intensity do I have behind it? How often am I repeating that? And then what are my blocks? What's my resistance, right? What are those things right there? So I'm going to go work on identifying what it is I want. I'm gonna look at different houses. I'm gonna think about it. I'm gonna feel it. I'm gonna see myself walking through the door every day. I'm gonna like just get into as much as the energy and think about it as often as I can without any doubt. And if there's any doubt, I'm going to continue to remove the doubt, right? So as I'm removing the doubt, and maybe it's energy clearing, different things, maybe there's a problem somewhere that's making me think I can't have it. So if I'm addressing those things, it clears up my energy to the point where I can strengthen that energy, and eventually some things click. Oh, well, this happened over here, and then this happened over here. And the next thing I know, it may not be that house that I'm in, but I'm in a house that I feel what I wanted to feel. That's kind of the key. Okay, so that's kind of just a scientific. It had nothing to do. There was no reference to the Bible or God or anything else. But on this side, you look at it, and Jesus basically says, like, if you have faith, you can have it. I mean, that's essentially what it says. If your faith is strong enough, you can have it. Okay. How's that different from the law of attraction? Kind of sounds like the same thing to me, right? So, okay. All right. That makes sense. Okay. Well, why don't I have it? Well, because you're a sinner. Oh, now you're accusing me of, no, it's called an energetic block. Like if you think you can go through life without making a mistake and having a bad thought, like, or a doubt, what is that? What isn't a doubt somewhat a sin against faith? Like if you look at it a little bit, like not as in like you're a sinner, like you're doing bad. See, that's what religion does. It's more like, oh man, I'm like screwing myself. Maybe I should let this go. How do I let it go? I just give it to God. It's that easy. I give it to Christ. I give it to God. I let it go. I repent of this messed up thought that I had that I don't even know where it came from, to be honest, because if Christ says I can do anything and yet my mind is telling me otherwise, why? And I challenge it. So, you see the very, very fundamental aspects of like, oh, law of attraction. We love law of attraction because law of attraction doesn't penalize us. But I don't know about the Bible and Jesus and everything else. Well, the truth is, it's not the word or Jesus or anything else that's actually holding you down. It's your own stories that you designed around the programming from other people of authority.
Mm-hmm.
And then that comes in, it creeps in, and then it gets us to run from it. So if there is a devil, like let's say that there is, he's pretty fucking good at manipulating you to believe this agenda, to get you to go down a different path and sedate inside of like, well, I don't like what you're telling me, so I'm going to go do this. And you give yourself permission to go live crazy, which is okay. Like we've all done it. I've done it. She's done it. Now we get permission to go destroy everything, to live the life we want. And then pretty soon we start choosing into a life instead of choosing out of a different life, which is fine. Like even under law of attraction type principles, the scientific studies, hey, if you're living a life you don't live, you need to choose out of it because you have too much resistance. I don't care if you destroy it. I don't care if you walk away from it. I don't care what you do, but you have to change something if you want to manifest something different. So it's okay. And what typically happens is people are so messed up internally with themselves that they take that judgment over themselves and they apply it to their kids or other people around them and make them feel bad and weaponize the name of God. And if you want to talk about using the Lord's name in vain, it's not saying God damn it. It's using God or Christ's name to make someone else feel like shit. That's what I would call using the Lord's name in vain, or giving yourself the authority, the idiocy that you're the one in charge and not him. Because the reality is it's just guidance. Like it's like you look at the teachings, it's guidance, just like the law of attraction says, do these things and hey, it's going to work out to your advantage. Christ kind of says the same thing. It's like, hey, he forgave instantaneously. So why do we feel like if his name comes up, shit, like, don't look at me like I'm a sinner. Yeah, I'll do it today. I'll do it tomorrow, whatever, but I can still talk to him. I can still have a conversation with him and I can continue to work better. I just don't allow myself to make him an enabler, right? Like if I do something twice that I know I need not do, then I need to address it. Like rather than continue to repeat and be like, oh, well, Christ loves everybody. Yeah, he does, but he doesn't appreciate what you're doing, and the reality is if you were to step outside yourself and saying what you wanted to manifest, let's law of attraction side. If you stepped outside yourself and watched you run day to day, you're not going to appreciate what you're doing. That's the truth. So rather than not address that and go over here to say, well, why does God let it happen? Or I don't believe in this or whatever story you're going to tell. Like the reality is if you stepped outside yourself and watched the behavior that you were doing from a spiritual perspective, that would create the same level of conflict that you have over what we would call religion or Christ or anything else. And number one, probably the biggest thing, I know I'm doing all the talking here, but the biggest thing that I deal with inside of this whole conversation is if your church or your religion doesn't create the space for you to show up and expose the deepest, darkest secrets with like create a space for you to be able to do this, and everybody understanding that we all have the same problems, that we all struggle, and you can unload and dump your crap and make it clear that like that's what's going to happen and that's what needs to happen, and you feel like you're running from it. One might be that you would just have a story and that people are actually there for you to be like, yeah, this is what I've done too. And it's important that sometimes some of us expose our failures of how bad we've done things. Like I've cheated on my wife at the time. That was probably one of the worst things I've done spiritually, I guess. When I was a little kid, I stole some polished rocks. I felt like crap about it. Had I just been able to tell somebody, but there was so much pressure that it just locked me down. But I felt horrible, right? But it wasn't like, oh no, now I did this bad thing, even though it was kind of an innocence because I really didn't know what I was doing until I'd done it. And so, one, understand that there are places that you can actually unload this negative energy and get off your back. And two, if you're in a space where you think are like absolutely not, these people are not this way, or the people around you are judgmental or living up to the Joneses, leave. That's not church. Like, go somewhere else. Find a place where you can actually do that, because from my experience, that's the space where people do the most healing and begin manifesting the most positive, amazing life that they can have. So I just wanted to get that out. So is there anything you want to combine then into this?
No.
Any of your own personal findings?
I have my own, I feel like, stories that was thinking of in my head that I could relate, that of things that you were saying.
That makes sense.
It makes sense. Yeah.
Yeah.
But I also I remember well, okay, so for me growing up, I'll just be really quick. For me growing up, um my dad used to tell me that church, they just wanted your money.
Hmm.
And so we never went to church because the story was they just want to take your money. That was it. And so I grew up wanting to go to church, but also knowing or thinking that they just wanted our money. And so I never really went to church until about a little over a year ago, when somebody told me, they were like, you need to go to this church. It's awesome. The pastor's so cool. Like, it's different. He said, it's different. So I went, and I had already been doing so much work on myself, like personal development type stuff, law of attraction, manifesting, but not even bringing any religion or God talk into the work that I was doing, but I was doing that work. And so when I started going to the church, I did see, even today they tell you like, we do want your money. But it's totally fine. So, but when I was going to the church, when I started going, there was some stuff that I was questioning, like the money stuff. Anytime they bring up the money, I felt a little triggered inside, just because that was what I grew up believing. They just wanted our money. But I anytime that I felt a little triggered through, like, even the stories they were saying, and I wasn't really sure about them, I just chose not to focus on that, because what I was actually seeing was the parallels between all the work I had been doing when I got sober, when I got happy, when I started like really changing my life. There were so many parallels between what I was learning in the personal development world with what they were actually, like, the truth in the Bible. And
Yeah.
so I was looking below my stories and below anything triggering, to see like the truth that the Bible was actually teaching. And I was like, this is so good. Like, this actually makes so much sense, because it was like, I even made a post on Facebook, and I said, the Bible is like a human, like, I think I said it was a human psychology book written in religious code.
Yeah.
And that's what it felt like, because I was like, this is actually really good. And if you let go of the stories and let go of the what your parents told you, and you don't focus on any of that, and you just look at the the truth and you actually you see it, you can see like the Bible, the things in there really does teach you how to live the life that you actually dream about if you were to you take the principles and apply them into your life. And I had been applying so much from the Bible into my life without knowing that that's what I was doing because I wasn't aware.
Yeah, because you didn't. But luckily, you didn't get a lot of the programming that some of us did around it. So, one of the things that I want to add to what you're saying is, if there's anything that comes across the screen or the stage or whatever with religion or the Bible that you're like that triggers you and sets you off, I say go challenge that, because the chances are you were told some bullshit and not the actual truth. And so go look into it and uncover where the lie is, whether it's your internal lie or whether it was somebody else that said something really stupid. But there's times people will say things that it has two different meanings. If you took the wrong meaning, it has its meaning for you personally. But there's just a lot of confusion around that, and you can just take it and be like, well, the law of attraction says this, and I know this, I can feel this to be true. Where's the parallel? And you can begin to tie those together, and it works all the time. Like if you're willing to challenge, find the truth, or wait for the truth, sometimes it takes time to uncover it. But to me, nothing can be as energetic, purifying, or cleansing as like repenting. Like that's an energetic thing that when you let go of something and expose it and repent it, it's like energetically it's gone. It no longer has any power over you. It's just like when the cheating thing that I had happen where it was locked down. Like I was like, it was a one-time thing. It was a major mistake. I kind of like it was just I don't want to go into details with it, but it was something that happened. And then after it was happened, I was like, what am I doing? Like there was a lot of things that led up to it. I was like, what am I doing? And then it was darkness from there on. Right. Because it was like, I guess I'm just gonna like not do it, but repress it and just never really speak about it because it would harm all these other people. So, whatever. And I got to the point where I was like, okay, God, if you want it to come out, just like, I guess you're going to take care of it. Like I don't know what to do at this point. Like I was very confused, but once it, like the things led to what it was supposed to, it came out. And as soon as it came out, freedom, no more mind getting stuck inside of that. Like people supported the, like just the courage to be able to do it. And I moved forward in it. Right. And it goes with anything, like people that are, addictions and crazy things have happened. People have made major mistakes, and it's like, let them go, give them to the person that they belong to. Like that's what Christ's whole purpose was, is that we can give that to him. So, and God says, don't judge, forgive everyone, like love people. The more you love people, it means, it's going to work to your advantage. If you have a resentment towards someone else, like their energy is tied to yours. So if you resent them, you're literally resenting yourself. And this law of attraction stuff where you're putting energy towards somebody else or anything else in a negative way, that means it's coming back to you. So your vibration is going to be low. You're not going to have that abundant life that you keep talking about wanting, so, but if you need to use the law of attraction, great, use it. But there's a couple different options. My biggest thing here is challenge the freaking stories. Right? Like tear down the model of whatever is called religion and this other BS and everything else. Just understand these things coincide perfectly with each other. They teach us how to be clear, and it's a space that when you can get inside of it correctly. But if you can't, it's okay. Like I have clients where I'm like, we don't know with you, we don't talk about religion because that's not what you need right now. You need to challenge religion and start searching for the truth until you find your answers. That's what has to happen here. Tear down all the bullshit stories that you've been told and taught through your life. But they, I can feel it in them that they know there is some truth there. And it's like, let's go find the truth and not just believe the bullshit.
Because we are all on our own journey and our own path. And I don't think that like we'll ever push anything onto anybody but it is just, we just support you.
Yeah, and there's clients that I have that don't necessarily, they're not Christians, right? They're of different faiths or beliefs and different things, and it's like, okay, they're good people.
It's really more, I think, like the more disconnected you are with yourself. And when I say disconnected, that's like, when you're drinking, or you're low vibration, you're unhappy, you're frustrated, you're stressed, you're reactive. The more disconnected you are with yourself, the more disconnected you feel with others. And that kind of is you living a life of frustration, and you're tired and exhausted and all those things. But the more you grow and the more connected you become with yourself, the more connected you become with others, the more open you are to something bigger than you. Like that you just become more connected. And so it doesn't really matter, I don't think, like what your religion is or whatever, just as long as you're happy and you're living a life. We want everyone to live a life that they love, but it's just about being, as connected as you can be to whatever you want to be connected to, right?
Yeah. Well, it's just my mind was thinking about something different, and just a reminder that you're never going to get this nailed down. It's like part of our life is that we make mistakes. We're all going to be liars to some degree when we start telling ourselves what our limitations are, which are lies, and having to check in. Well, our programming is such that we're gonna make these mistakes, and we have to continually uncover and expose the embarrassment of some of these mistakes. And if we're willing to do that, then we love more, we forgive faster, we love more, and we get the abundance that is sitting right in front of
Well,
us.
this is what I say, is that you're never going to fully get there, because we're always growing and evolving.
Yeah.
And so we have to make mistakes in order to learn. We have to, things have to happen in order for us to continue to grow and evolve. So, we're never going to fully get there, but it's because we're always growing and evolving. So it's not like, we just get to be okay with the journey.
Well, and I would also suggest appreciating other people's mistakes, right? Like that's, um I see people fail, make stupid mistakes, or do something really might be considered bad, and I tend to find appreciation in it as a lesson. Like, because of this, you're going to learn this.
I like to say there is no, like, there really is no good or bad. There just is.
Yeah. So, but
So
find your peace. Just the main thing is keep moving forward, right? Like there's a truth for you out there, and what we do is we help people learn to manifest and create a life that they want to live, whether that's tearing down some stuff, whether that's going dark, figuring things out, or just going to the light side and living abundantly. But you can't have darkness inside of you and chase the light. The fastest way to actually get the light to shine is actually remove the darkness, and that can be a form of energy clearing, recognizing, exposing, repentance, whatever you want to call it. But it's a two-part thing where we got to remove the resistance, and then we have to brighten the light through going after what we want, and we continue on that path and watch these people crush it as they move up. But categorically, the starting steps are not, let's focus on all this positive stuff. It's like, no, let's address some of the lies in the stories, that let's find a different truth to them. Let's figure out what happened, or just expose them. Like, why hang on to this baggage when you can just let it go, and it just that fast be done with it, even though it's terrifying and embarrassing, whatever. But it's like, who cares? Like, we've all done dumb shit, like all of us. There is no, and what's crazy is, like, somebody that's like, well, I've never had anything bad happen to me, really. They think, yeah, but your emotions are still as intense as the person that has had bad stuff happen. So what's the, like, just because it sounds worse doesn't mean it is worse, because emotionally you're just as messed up as that person. So which one's actually worse? Like, so it's like, who cares? Let's just get rid of it. Let's move forward, raise the energy, raise your vibration. You can manifest at a very powerful level. So anything else? Just end it there.
I think that was pretty good. I would say that you are the one of the most, if not the most knowledgeable person that I know when it comes to law of attraction, manifesting, correlating it with the lessons from the Bible, like all of it. You're just so good.
Mixing it. That's my
Yeah.
dyslexia. for
He's
you.
so good.
I get to see things from different viewpoints because of my dyslexia, ADHD, autistic type stuff. And also just the challenges that I've been through, the repression and the religious bullshit and everything else, where it's like I had to figure it out for myself. You know, no, there was nobody there really teaching me, but I just based it on how I felt. I was like, this doesn't seem like I know there's truth here, but what's happening doesn't make sense. And I just continue to challenge it until I find answers. And so that's what I encourage everyone else to do. And I try to be as loving as I can, forgiving. And this is it. It's kind of crazy, but like my ex, the stuff that happened there, I was pretty resentful of it, even though I'm very much like, I just wish him the best. But I still had this level of resentment. And every day it gets less and less because I continue to work on it. Because I know that if I push out any energy in a negative way towards her or them or whatever, it harms me. And if it harms me, it harms my kids. And it could harm our relationship. And so I'm just constantly working on that. And when you brought up that Ho'oponopono prayer thing, I was like, maybe I should just like say that for them, like just push out that energy towards them. And it's not about like what, I don't know what they do or what, like it's like I block them. I don't want to know, but at the same time I'm like, if my life's going to be abundant, then I need to love everyone regardless of any past or anything else. Like take the blessings, move into it. And there's things that like I can feel my energy still changing on that, getting better and better and clearer to just really emulate like love through any possibility.
And that really is, I think, the bottom line when it comes to church, God, manifesting, just loving your life is the bottom line. It's just like love.
Yeah. And to me, that's what Christ is. And it's, it's strange because it's like we grow up fearing God, and there's these terms people say, are you a God-fearing man? And I'm like, no. And, even I've heard Andrew Tate recently, like, which I love this guy, like he's a badass. I love him, but he'll say, well, I think we should fear God. And I'm like, I don't fear God. I fear myself. Like, why would I fear God? He's given me all of this, and he created a path for me and did all these different things. So why would I fear him? I fear myself, my behaviors. And so that doesn't really add up. It works for him. Perfect. Great. I think he's amazing. I think there's a lot to learn from him. But for me, I'm like, no, I don't. And I believe that in the same way that I can love someone that harmed me, maybe I don't let them in my space, but I can love them. And that to me is getting close to emulating what Christ does for every one of us. That's why he was like, when he healed people, he was just like, you're forgiven, just don't sin again. Like, so that, like you can be happy, like just let it go, change your life right now in this instance. And, like many of them did, and they lived a completely different life. And they were so grateful for it. So, it's just like trying to emulate that. And this has also kept me in check when I get angry at somebody. Like I think to myself when I'm ready to snap at times, I think, listen, like you're complaining about this little instance that somebody did. Maybe it's bad, whatever, but Jesus was crucified. So what the hell are you complaining about? And that will stop me in my tracks and be like, yeah, what am I complaining about? And then he's willing to take on whatever, however this works. I don't fully understand, but he's willing to take that on too. Like if he can love them too. I know law of attraction says, if I want this, I can't resent, I can't hate. Otherwise I'm hating myself, because it's all energy in the end. So I have to find a way. And then I do find a way. And that's the just continued love, open space, creating that for other people, whatever needs done is the objective here. I don't care if you want to call it religion. I don't care if you want to call it law of attraction. I know the energy that I'm searching for, and that's what I continue to move into.
It's love.
Yeah. So,
That's really good.
all right.
Yeah. I feel like, well, you have to say goodbye.
All right. We'll going to end it here. Obviously, this could go very deep and a lot further, but I just want to hopefully speak to some people that need to hear let go of the stories, the bullshit, understand that God is an all loving, but if you need to check out from it, that's cool. But maybe at least ask the questions, show me the truth.
I would say, remember this is that there is what you know, there is what you don't know, and there is what you don't know, you don't know. And so just stay open to learning, because there's so much out there we don't know.
Yeah, there's an advantage to being the person that doesn't know anything, because more can come to you.
Yes.
All right.
High five.
We'll see you guys later. Next round.